بعدو بالاشو ببینیش که تو دنیا نداره وقتی میرقص کسی جز اون تماشا نداره تو همه والا تکه اون قدو بالا همیشه مثل دوست دختر من دختری پیدا نمیشه تموم قد و آشتیاش بهونه ها و خنده هاش وقتی برام ناز میکنه.
My name is Åse and I'm a Norwegian documentary filmmaker.
Can you tell me more about the project you did in 2009 with the refugee youngsters?
Me and my colleague and friend Tone, we were working part-time in an asylum seeker home. And we would get questions, don't you want to make films about these kids? And we decided that we wanted to give them the cameras and let them film themselves. And we saw some results of participatory video projects from Palestine and England, and we thought this is a brilliant project to try out on these kids. At the beginning of the course, I remember that they were trying to come up with ideas that they thought would please us. So we always had to focus on stories that they wanted to tell. What are their concerns? What is important to them? So their task was basically to make a film about their life in their home, in the asylum home. On the course that we did in 2010, we wanted them to focus more on documentary scenes. So we would show them different scenes from different films and explain them how to build a documentary scene, an observational scene, for example. With participatory video, there are specific exercises that you do. It's not about the technical quality. It's not really about the result, it's about the process. And our focus would always be storytelling. So an example of an exercise we gave to them was something called name game. We would sit in a circle and one of the participants would hold the camera and film the person opposite, and the person would introduce themselves, tell us something about themselves, and then the camera would go around in the circle, and at the end we would watch it all together. One thing I was positively surprised by was we would show them still photos of just still photos. We would ask them what do you feel when you see this picture, and what thoughts do you get when you see this picture? And we were very positively surprised by they were so analytical and they understood the symbolic very well. The filming they did themselves, we would send them out with a camera and they would film something, we'd give them a specific exercise, so we'd come back and we would watch it all together and talk through it. If they misunderstood the task, we would send them out again. We would also give them homework for the next day, so they would take the camera with them and film something, we would watch it the next day.
And how did you edit the films?
Well, that was a bit challenging because editing is something else. With the camera you press record and you can basically film. But with editing we had to help them a little bit. So we would be their kind of editor and they would tell us how they wanted it. I think one thing is learning how to operate in camera. That's maybe not so interesting, but to reflect upon their own situation and to open up and talk about what they are concerned about. I think and the storytelling itself, I think that's where they learned.
Actually, how many workshops you did throughout the years?
We did, I believe, we did at least 4 groups, maybe 6 groups, I think. The first year we did only Afghan kids. The reason for this was we could only do one language group at the time. because it took so much time to translate. And then the next year we wanted to do a group with girls. Most of the minors who come here are boys. The group of girls was very small, so we wanted to give them also the opportunity. They were from Eritrea. These girls are very strong. We were told that you have to really protect the girls because they feel very uncomfortable around the boys, and there are not so many of them, so you have to be very protective of them. And great, they have to have a pure girl group. But these girls are very strong, and so I think it would work perfectly fine with a mixed group.
How did you reach the level of intimacy with them? How did you deal with their personal stories, and what was challenging for you?
Of course, we had the access because we were working at the home at the moment, so we knew the kids. So there was some kind of trust there before we started. When we did the course, we spent a lot of time talking to them, talking about their ideas, getting to know them, also telling something about ourselves. I think all of them developed during the process in a very impressive way. They knew nothing about film, they knew nothing about filming and filmmaking, and they were so eager to learn, so eager to do something. You have to remember that these are kids who are just sitting in a home and waiting, nothing to do. And also their kind of self-esteem. At the end of the course we arranged a big premiere and they got their diploma and they were so proud. Our bigger goal with these films was also that they could be used for some positive change, for Norwegian society to learn more about life as a minor in Norway. We thought that the fact that they were anonymous was against the whole idea of participatory video, but it was necessary because we wanted the films to get out there, which we managed to do. We got some good media attention and the films were published on a big Norwegian newspaper's website, and they were interviewed by national television. But we felt maybe that they were supposed to be anonymous was against the whole idea of kind of being open and not. I mean, if there are any the Norwegian society, if they're hostile against refugees, it's because they don't know anything about them, and if they're anonymous, it feeds on their kind of imagination of who they are. I remember particularly one boy from Afghanistan. He joined the course together with his brother, and we were contacted by him a couple of years later actually that he wanted to apply for a school with film education. So he was very he loved filming, and he really enjoyed it, and he had a talent for it as well. I believe that this was the first time that participatory video was done in Norway, but I don't know if somebody else has continued doing it, but I think it's a great method for marginalized group. I mean, video camera is so easy to use. It's a great method, I think, for them to express their situations, their problems in a creative way.
Would you have any suggestion or advice?
You have to be very patient, I think, and I think what we learned from it, that you have to be true to the ideas behind participatory video, and not. It's very easy, I think, when you're doing a film course, that you want the result to be you want the result to be good, to be high production quality, but that's not important. It's the process that is important. It's not the result. So I keep that in mind. That it's not so important. The result is not so important.
بیگانه غریب ملک